Hello. So just finished my first 2 gigs in over a year and a half. A lot of fun, but so tiring, man. I wanted to do a pedalboard build before the shows, but unfortunately I ran out of time and the pedalboard was actually already built, so I didn't want to take it apart and rebuild it. But now that the shows are done, I have a little bit of time before the next one, and I'm just gonna rebuild the board, even if it is like the same board. This is it right here. Excuse the mess of cables. You know how it goes. This thing, man. Jesus. I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. I mean, obviously it sounded great at home, but getting it into a band context, I was blown away. I heard everything I needed to hear. So anyway, let's get to deconstructing and reconstructing possibly the same board. Either way, it's gonna be fun. Definitely therapeutic. I need it. Okay, first things first. You like my workstation? Flip over the board. Get the trusty snippers out. Gotta remove these cable ties. I think I got them all. Don't worry, these all get recycled. We flip the board back around. Got all the colours, man. Now let's remove the pedals. Okay, now that everything's removed from the board, basically this is where I would now choose which board I want to use. I have a total of 6 different boards, but I think this one is my favourite. I can fit everything I need, I can space them out nicely, so when I'm tap dancing, I don't get all confused and hit the wrong switch. So anyway, let's get to the build. Firstly, flip the board over yet again. Yeah, look at the mess. So because I'm using so many pedals, I've opted to use 3 separate power supplies. One being the T-Rex Fuel Tank Junior. Great little unit. And it's so tiny, it's nice. So that's going to go right in the middle. Next, I have 2, also T-Rex, the Fuel Tank Chameleons. Actually got this on recommendation from a friend of mine, and it did not let me down. So that's the idea right there. Next, pedal layout. I don't care what anybody says, it's all subjective, but personally, I like to start the chain with my tuner. By putting the tuner at the beginning of the chain, it's the first thing that your guitar meets, meaning it's the cleanest possible signal for more accurate tuning. Jumping all the way to the end of the chain, we have my new Strymon Iridium. The Iridium is new to me, even though it's been on the market since 2019, I believe. This is a fantastic little unit for small gigs where you don't have the luxury of bringing your amp. This has 3 different built-in amps with 3 different cabinets that you can use per each amp. It's a fantastic unit, and it sounds so nice. So that goes at the very end of the chain, right out to my amps, or right out to the DI box to go direct. Moving back to the beginning of the chain, again this is another subjective choice, but I use my Phase 90 before my Overdrive pedals, just like Eddie did it, just like many countless fantastic guitar players. So real quick, really handy thing about this tuner is it has an in and an out, meaning I can power this from the output of this, and then the input of the tuner gets powered by my power supply. Nice. Quick break for a submissive swig. Oh yeah. Next up, pitch shifting. I'm opting for the Micro Pog by Electro Harmonics. It's a fantastic little unit. You can get your sub-octaves and your octave up effects, meaning you can get those really low sounds, or you can opt for more organ sound. It's really versatile, it's nice. Now because I'm kind of OCD, I'm going to work a little bit backwards. So from the end of the chain, I'm now going to add the Blue Sky by Strymon. This is a fantastic reverb unit, and as you can see, it's got a favorite control, meaning you turn it on, you get 1 sound. Click the favorite switch, 2nd sound. Perfect. You hear this all over Queenless Kings music, most notably Man in the Sky, Save the Family, The Captain, and I'm sure we'll write plenty more tunes that use this. So because this pedal is what's called true stereo, meaning it's got left and right in and left and right out, I'm going to use a special cable. It's one of these kind of cables. So connecting to the Iridium, which has stereo out, but only mono in, the mono in can be used with this end called a tip ring sleeve, or TRS. This means that this end goes into the Iridium, and the ring and tip jacks go into my left and right output of the Blue Sky, like this. Again, working backwards down the chain, we now have the Boss Terra Echo. I love this unit. A lot of people get confused about what they should use it for, what it could be used for, why it was designed. I love this thing, man. It just adds that little bit of something special to your signal. It's so hard to describe, but trust me. You also hear this over Queenless Kings music, most notably a new song called Product of Time. Also, big shout out to Hugh Cullerty's expert in Tralee. This is where I bought this. And you'll see it has 2 outputs and 2 inputs. More cables! Yay! Moving on from the Terra Echo, we now have the Dig by Strymon. Can you tell I'm kind of a Strymon nut here? As you can see, with the Dig, you've got left and right outputs, but only 1 input. This isn't necessarily a problem. We can connect the 2 outputs to the 2 inputs on the Terra Echo, and then because Strymon are a bunch of geniuses, we have another one of these cables to connect the TRS side to the input, and the other 2 sides go to the stereo output of my next pedal, which is again another Strymon pedal. This is the El Capistan. This is a digital tape emulating pedal, and it's fantastic. And again, just like the Dig, it's got left and right output and an input. Just like the Dig, it's also got an expression pedal jack. On the El Capistan, I won't be using this, but on the Dig, I use it exclusively. Same layout on the Dig. It's got a tap and a bypass control. Bypass is for turning on and off. Tap is to tap to the tempo of the song so that my repeats are in sync with the song. The idea of the expression jack then is so I can use this little switch to remotely switch between 2 different sounds on the Dig. Next up, we have a completely analog pedal. This is the ARDX20 delay by Analog Man. Unbelievable pedal. This one's a little bit more limited, but it's still just as awesome. So we've got an input, an output, an expression jack, and a Y cable jack. The Y is so cool. It means if I have a Y cable, meaning 2 mono ends and 1 stereo tip, I can connect the stereo tip to this, and then add, say, a chorus pedal, or some other kind of effect, whatever I want, to like a loop in this, meaning while my echoes are happening, I will also have a chorusing effect, or whatever other effect I decide to use, on the repeats of this delay. It's so nice, man. Genius. Mike, if you're watching, well done. But for this board, I'll just be using this one here. This is an expression jack. So again, I'll be needing one of these cables. So one side goes in here, and the other side goes in here. It's this Old Blood Noise Endeavors fader switch. I've literally only heard about these guys. They're so cool, and you know, I know this is just like a control switch, but it's compatible with so many other brands. And I just bought it on a whim, and I really like it for controlling the speed of my delay on the Analog Man pedal. Next we get into some more modulation. So for my modulation, I love chorus. Chorus is so nice. I know it was overused, the 80s kind of ruined it for everybody, but you can't really beat it, man. And this, again, another Analog Man pedal. Great unit. This is a clone, I believe, of the Electro-Harmonix small clone, famously used by the likes of Kurt Cobain. You can hear it all over the Nevermind album. Next up is the TC Electronic Bonafide Buffer. You can't tell what it is because it's been faded off. I've used this at so many gigs, and it's great. It's great. This is a buffer, and what a buffer does, meaning if you've got a big pedal board running a lot of cable length, you tend to lose a lot of your clarity in the signal. What this does is retains all that clarity. To a degree, it's just like plugging into the front of your amp. And must have if you're running a big board with long cable lengths. A lot of people say you should run this first, or as close to your guitar as possible. I do agree with that theory, but for me, I just prefer it after my overdrive pedals. Because, I don't know, they just sound too brittle otherwise. You know, if I run it before it, they sound a little bit too brittle for me. Whereas if I run it right after my overdrive pedals, yeah, it works way better for me. So as I mentioned, I'm using this little foot switch. This is going to sneak in right beside the buffer. I also need a TRS cable for this pedal. I actually made a mistake. I run these the other way around. My bad. So next up, right in the middle of all of this, is my noise suppressor. My old beaten up noise suppressor. Still works. It's a classic. What's great about this is you've got your inputs and outputs, which is great. Input, for me, comes directly out of my POG, in here, out of this pedal, into my bona fide buffer. Simple. But then we have send and return. The send and return refers to a loop, which is built inside the pedal. Meaning, all of my noisy overdrive pedals, where I'm like using a lot of gain and distortion, they can all go in here. They run in a parallel loop alongside the rest of my board. And now last but not least, we're on to overdrives. Now my taste in overdrive is more or less the same, but I have so many overdrive pedals, it's kind of hard to choose which ones I want to use. A mainstay on my board for the longest time has been an Analog Man King of Tone, which is fantastic. Think of this pedal as a 2-in-1. So basically you've got one pedal and you've got another pedal. The way I like to run it is this side is actually a boost, so it's just straight up clean, more or less sounds like my sound, just louder. This side is more based on a tube screamer with a little bit of a mid hump and just that punch, that extra clarity that you need. And when both of them are on together, it's fantastic. It's just a tube screamer with girth. So that's going first in my overdrive chain. At the very end of my overdrive chain, I've been using the Plumes by Earthquaker for the longest time. And you know what, I think I'm going to keep it on the board too. This one is going to go at the end of the overdrive chain, as I mentioned. This one will basically simulate my amp sound. So this will be my amp, and this will be boosting into my amp. As for this spot, I'm really not sure what I want to use. As you can see, I've got quite a few pedals to choose from, specifically overdrive pedals. Here's some more. And some more. Oh, guys, if you haven't checked this out yet, check out the Zoo Drive by Elteco Sound Design. It's built by a friend of mine in Bulgaria, Mr. Ilko Iliev. One of the nicest dudes in the world. Hand makes these all by himself. Definitely check him out. And some more pedals. Look at the little one in the background hiding. It's a fantastic pedal though. Sounds just like this, only it's like a fraction of the size and price. Hey. And for any fans of that pedal show on YouTube, this is the DNM Drive by Keeley. Fantastic pedal, man. Seriously. On this side, we've got a boost similar to that of a Klon. And this side over here is basically a heavily modified OCD. Both fantastic pedals, work fantastically together, and you can switch the order. I tend to just leave it on boost first. So this was on my board for a long time, but now I'm not sure. I don't know which one I want to use. I guess I'll just kind of leave it in a sort of, you know, interchangeable section, so that I can swap it out for something else should I need to or want to. Maybe I'll put a second King of Tone in there. This King of Tone is different to this one. This is the high gain version. And a lot of people say, like, you know, a lot of people say it's not that different. But to me it is, man. Like, this was my sound for the longest time. I recorded all of our singles with it. It's done countless shows with me. I will never sell this thing, man. Yeah, how about this? For now, I'll put this on the board, right next to the other one, and we'll just have fun, knowing that I have two King of Tones. Yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to continue with the rest of the pedalboard build. Hopefully you stuck the video out this long. If you have, thank you. And I'll post a follow-up video or a couple of pictures once it's done. You get to nerd out with me. That's all for now, guys. Thanks for sticking it out with me. I've been Ryan. Peace.